Welcome to this bonus episode of the Bentonville Beacon podcast, where we're sharing thoughts, experiences, and wisdom from the attendees of the 2022 Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit, the premier technology summit in the American Heartland. This year, the conference had 1,700 attendees from most U.S. states and some international visitors who moved between 5 concurrently active venues across downtown Bentonville. The summit included 5 programming tracks spanning mobility and supply chain, cybersecurity, health and wellness, entrepreneurship, and Web 3.0. And now, let's hear from a few attendees of the 2022 Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit. All right, I'd like to welcome to the show Alex Howland, founder of Alex Victoria Events.
Thanks so much for having me, James.
No problem. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you.
Hey, what would you like our audience to know about you?
Oh, man. Over the years, I have been called lightning in a bottle. I think that's the best way to sum me up. Kind of a unicorn, I just love to know a little bit about everything. I want to be really enveloped in my surroundings and just get a sense of creativity, artistic ability. And I really want to empower others to lean into everything that they love and then build something really amazing with it. So I feel like that's the best way to describe me.
That is fantastic. We worked together at the chamber as recently as a year ago. And I'm sure that'll come up somewhere, but yes, lightning in a bottle is a great description. I absolutely love it. Loved working with you. And so
same.
We were sad to see you leave, but tell us about Alex Victoria Events.
Well, this is an interesting one. I worked for the chamber for a couple years and I was running the Northwest Arkansas Business Women's Conference. I loved it. It was my passion. It was my dream. It was everything I ever wanted to be involved with. And then an opportunity came up because I noticed there was this white space in the events here in Northwest Arkansas. We have so many events across this region that I noticed people needed help planning them. I kept going to events and they were not being pulled off very well. So there was either something missing or no tablecloths or these really simple things that I would go in and notice. And so I just started talking to a few people in my network and someone gave me a chance. And so when that opportunity happened, I had to kind of make a decision. And it was a really tough decision, to be honest. I loved my team that I was working with. I loved everything I was doing. I loved the events I was able to work on, the connections and the community and the growth that I saw over 2 years. But I'd also always wanted to be a business owner. And I always wanted to found something and have something that was my own. And honestly, the thing that I think ended up letting me say, yes, this is the right decision. This is the right feeling. I'm a gut intuition person. And one day I said, do I want to work for someone else's dreams or do I want to fulfill my own? And the answer to that one question was so simple. And it was just yes. So I did it and I jumped in head first. I had no funding. I had no savings really. It was kind of really scary. I just dove right in and I was like, let's go. Let's do this thing.
Well, you said yes to success because I think you've probably been pretty successful since then, from what I can tell looking from afar. We've come full circle. Let's talk about it's almost a year ago now since you left us at the chamber. So the time of the Northwest Arkansas Tech Summit. So let's talk about Tech Summit real quick.
Yes, I'd love to.
How have you enjoyed this Tech Summit? Has anything changed about it? And what's, why are you here?
Wow. So 2 years, I got to experience the Tech Summit for 2 years. And then now I'm here in a very different capacity, but similar capacity, right? Uh-huh. So that's kind of fun. I have to give major props. This has been such an incredible event as far as the different types of tech that we're now seeing. I know there's cybersecurity. We've always seen that. But Web 3, that's so cool. I mean, we're seeing the future of the internet and what's to happen is so wildly interesting. So I just want to say kudos to the Tech Summit team because honestly, they have just gone above and beyond. Having multiple venues, I know as an event planner and consultant, that is a huge challenge. And they really pulled it off seamlessly. I mean, there's always going to be room for improvement in any event, no matter what. And if I have an event that doesn't have room for improvement, I'm quitting. Okay, I'm quitting the next day because I don't want to do that. I want to be in events where I know they can grow and they can always have opportunity for something new and something exciting to happen. So great job. I think the venues were amazing that they chose. I think all the vendors were awesome. Like, we didn't have people just selling products. People were engaging and activating and getting in each other's, LinkedIn. I saw so many people exchanging contact information on LinkedIn, like, immediately. And those are the real connections that are made at events like this. And that's what I want to continue to see more of here in Northwest Arkansas.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's really nothing I can add to that. It's that awesome.
Oh, no.
I mean, like,
you have
Chris,
to.
our new Tech Summit director, Chris Adams, came on board, I don't know, 6 months or so ago.
That sounds about right.
Our interim CEO now was the previous Tech Summit director, and she did an amazing job.
Yes.
But I feel like, hey, Ashley, Chris is like, you made a home run hire with Chris. You should go ahead and retire. You're done.
Yeah, you're done.
You made your
You're good.
best hire ever in one hire. Great job.
It's fantastic.
Let's talk about Northwest Arkansas. I mean, how long have you been here?
Well, I was actually doing the math, and it's been almost 6 years, which is wild.
Wow. So you effectively 30 years, because time here, 1 month here is whatever it is. I'll have to do the math to figure out what that just meant. But what's changed here since you've been here?
Everything. Traffic, construction, roads. We have so many detours. I actually think we might have more detours than New York City. I would actually love to see that on a map. Can we get that?
Growth
I love
is
it,
painful,
though.
isn't it?
It's a temporary. It's a temporary pain. I live in downtown Fayetteville, and I absolutely adore it. Right now, my street, I have one path in and one path out. It might be a little bit of a fire hazard, but you know what? It's okay. It is what it is at this point. But growth is really painful, and I'm really glad that you said that, because hard things take time and energy, and we just got to stay in this for the long haul. Like,
that's right.
Earlier we were talking about, there's marathoners and there's sprinters in the world. And I love this. Dr. Mary Lassity, who was, one of our MCs, she was talking about this. And I've realized I'm a marathoner.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are sprinters. And so you have to have a balance of both in this area, because I think some of us marathoners see the big end goal see where we're going and where we're going to be in 10 years. As far as what's changed in the last 6, I'm not joking when I say everything. Like,
you're right.
My streets have changed. Just getting to my house is about to be a more walkable area. I'm about to have direct access to downtown across one of the most dangerous, roads in all of Northwest Arkansas, 71B.
That's great.
But having that pedestrian access, and really, we're in a place where people care about the future of our built environment. And that is so powerful to have so many people who care. And I think they're building the right way. I think it could get off the rails if we're not careful, because we could grow too fast. But I think there's some really important people here doing the right type of work and really digging in and figuring out, okay, what's next? And how are we going to plan for the impacts of what we build now and what it's going to mean for the future generations?
Yeah, I think the growth here is very thoughtful.
It is.
When a problem is spotted and growing, the Northwest Arkansas Council steps in and brings folks together, right? Adam, we're, I guess, even more local, hyper-local level here in Bentonville, for example. I look at the Master Streets Plan. Everybody has that, right? Every city has a Master Streets Plan. But every street place has a zoning plan and so on. We have a bike and pedestrian plan.
I couldn't believe I forgot to mention the bikes.
Long, right? And it's layered on top of these other plans. And so when a new road goes in, pull out the Master Streets Plan and says, okay, these are supposed to go here as well. And what we're seeing now is this next evolution of we're the mountain biking capital of the world. Yeah. You also have to be safe riding around on the streets. And it is safe, right? Because everybody...
It is.
I mean, walking across the street here is kind of like, no, you go. I can't get a car to go when I'm like standing at the corner. I'm like, no, I'm not really crossing the street. Go on.
No, just go. We're good.
Right? And
I'm on my phone.
The drivers are so nice, and they actually respect bicyclists, and the bicyclists respect them. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
And but to know that it's going to be even safer and better, that we've got a lot of
Yeah.
drive around that is very, very comforting.
Yeah.
And this place is becoming, did I say driver or drivers, whatever.
Drivers.
Anyway,
You know.
Knowing that the growth is thoughtful
It is,
in that way, in making our community a better place to live. And then add on top of that, an amazing parks plan.
Yeah.
We've got
Oh, yeah. It's
probably
incredible.
more. Yeah. Somebody said earlier, there's got to be more parks here than anywhere I've been. I can throw a stone and hit a
Yeah, hit a
park.
rock. Yeah.
And yet, with all the growth, we recognize that as soon as we lose green space, it's gone.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, it's
we're
important.
adding more parks right now.
We are. Mhm.
Why not?
It's amazing. But you mentioned bikes, and I can't believe I didn't mention that in the growth. Probably one of the biggest pieces of growth I've seen here
Yeah.
is the Greenway
Oh,
and
gosh,
the
yeah.
expansion of the trail system. I mean, people. I actually helped host a mountain bike summit earlier, about a month ago, and we brought in people from across the entire nation and actually from Canada. And some of the women who attended were like, "These are some of the best trails that we've seen." And some of those people were from Colorado. Come on, we're like competing with. I mean, maybe we don't have the crazy steep down hills, but
That's right.
we have a really beautiful area that has so much potential. And man, we're connected. Like, we're so connected. It's wild.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. Look, we don't have the biggest hills and mountains, but we've got enough. We've got enough elevation to have fun.
Yeah.
And you don't have to pedal back up to the top.
Exactly.
And you don't have to pay to ride a
gondola.
a ski lift
Yeah,
or gondola
yeah.
up to the top.
Yep.
You just have fun. It's great.
So much fun. I love
And
that.
now there are trail builders around the world coming here
Yep.
to learn how to build trails and to learn how to build sustainable trails.
Yes.
Because that's what we do. We take something great, we make it better, and then we teach the world.
Yeah.
That's what
I love
happens
it.
in Bentonville.
I think it's fantastic.
Okay, last question. Tell me a hashtag because Bentonville story. So this is a story that's sort of shows the uniqueness of Bentonville or sort of the essence of Bentonville, or it could only happen here or whatever.
Man, I feel like I am uniquely positioned because I did work at the chamber. So I could go on for a really long time about this one. But, one of the first times I ever saw the hashtag was actually when I was looking for a job. And so it was really in its infancy back in those days. And so I had actually seen one of the Bentonville Chamber's posts, which ended up leading me to their website, which ended up leading me to applying for my last job that was at the Bentonville Chamber. And to say that it's this like full circle success story is pretty incredible, because I don't know that I would have ever seen the amazing work that the chamber and people in Bentonville and organizations in Bentonville are doing without seeing those hashtags and following it. I mean, it's pretty crazy.
That's about as hashtag because Bentonville as you get.
Yeah.
It's
So
literally the hashtag. That's awesome.
I work here and live here, and,
Awesome.
and I
Well,
play here.
Perfect. Well, let's end it on that. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you
so much,
Thanks,
Alex.
James.
I
This was
appreciate
really
it.
fun. Absolutely. Thank you.
Hey, let me introduce you to Craig Immel, the founder of GoKey. Craig, welcome to the show.
Hi, James. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. So, Craig, what would you like our audience to know about you?
Man, I'm happy to be here in Northwest Arkansas and blown away by all the changes I've seen. I actually grew up here and was born in Northwest Arkansas and moved away when I was 6. I live over in Tulsa and lived in Colorado for a long time. But when I came back, man, the changes have been significant, but they've also been really nice. Like there's a lot of new things happening in a good quality way. So I see a lot of quality growth, quality development, and it's cool to see you guys doing quality of growth, not just quantity.
Right.
But like I said, live in Tulsa. I've got a 9-year-old daughter and a lot of family still in this area, and really have grown to appreciate Northwest Arkansas for what it is, and would love to try and get back here before too long.
Well, we would definitely welcome you back. I have to ask, where in Colorado did you live?
Kind of all over the place. So
Really?
I lived in Durango for a while. I lived in Colorado Springs for a while. Lived in Salida, Upper Arkansas River Valley for a long time, and went to graduate school in Denver at the University of Denver.
No, good old DU.
Good old DU.
Yeah.
Go Pioneers.
Spent a little time in Denver, living in the Highlands Ranch area.
Oh, nice.
For a minute.
Beautiful area.
Yeah, beautiful area. A lot of folks moved from Denver to here now, though.
I've seen that.
I've seen very that. Cool.
Can't
Denver,
say I blame them.
Some Colorado Springs. But yeah, it's been really cool.
Yep.
Let's talk about your company, GoKey. What's it all about?
So GoKey is about a 1.5-year-old Web3 startup, and we're focused on using blockchain technology to address challenges around accessibility of property ownership. So it kind of started around trying to think about affordability crisis in housing, but then really our thinking has expanded more to how can we utilize this technology to offer more options and alternatives and financing and things like that to small business owners, or really anyone who's just really trying to get on the property ladder or, sort of solidify their kind of the space where they want to be, and let people get off kind of the rental kind of rat race and get their way onto the property ladder and hopefully accrue equity and build, personal wealth, because that's one of the key drivers of personal wealth for a lot of families. So if that gets harder and harder to attain, then your odds of your family and your kids having a more secure financial future kind of start to diminish a little bit.
I love that you characterize that as, I wrote it down, accessibility of property ownership, because the reality is there's not, in my estimation, there's not actually, this is going to sound crazy for a moment, there's not actually a housing shortage. There's a product shortage in the middle market, which then leads to, there goes my pen, then leads to an accessibility problem. Right. And it's getting worse across the country. And so we've got to change that so that housing is affordable and people can live. I'm sure we'll come back to that and talk about it from a Northwest Arkansas perspective. You must have some insights there. So in Tulsa, looking to get back here, talk more about Northwest Arkansas. How has it changed?
When I was younger, like I said, we moved to Tulsa when I was 6. I went all the way through high school over there. And, I used to look back in Arkansas, I'm like, man, Tulsa is so much more advanced and there's just so much more going on. But later in life, like I studied real estate and construction and was really into sustainable development and started learning about like city planning. And I started looking at back at Fayetteville. I started coming back and visiting my family more because people are getting older, having kids, everything. And, I just started seeing how well, to me, it seemed like all the cities in this region were really well governed and made a lot of really smart, common sense decisions when it came to development and creating density and being careful about how you, not spreading out so much that your infrastructure costs can't really be repaid. So I started looking at the physical built environment and really being impressed with what I was seeing and fresh ideas and fresh energy coming in from people outside the area, where it seems like most people in Tulsa are from Tulsa, and it's kind of stuck that way.
Sure.
But then more recently, I started meeting more people who are involved in tech here and Web3 and the group at OSDAO. I helped found a group called Blockchain Northwest Arkansas, really because of what was happening at the university. And I was really kind of blown away to see how many people were interested in the technology and all the potential applications for it. So just kind of started coming over here and networking more and meeting some really incredible people. And so, that's probably one of the more significant changes I've seen. But, it's I remember, coming back through here 20 years ago for the first time in several years, and I was driving at night and I got really turned around because I didn't know when I was going from one town to the next, whereas, there used to be a lot of space between Rogers and Bentonville or Rogers and Springdale, and so it's kind of taken me a while to reorient myself. But.
Yeah, it's sort of turned into Northwest Arkansas is now the city.
That's right.
Those are the neighborhoods.
Yeah. It's
kind of cool.
As kind of a urban planning and kind of a built environment nerd, man, it's been really interesting to see.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love the way it's laid out because each of these cities have their own character about it.
Yeah. And there's still, even with the influx of people and, unfortunately more traffic, I mean, the quality of life is still very high, and people across the nation see that.
Absolutely. Well, you've probably noticed there's a lot of construction projects going out here.
That's
and
right.
A lot more road construction projects going on, more road construction projects coming. So we're trying to get ahead of it in the best way that we can. Let's talk about, you talk about tech in Northwest Arkansas. We're at the Northwest Arkansas Technology Center.
That's right.
What a coincidence.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Why did you come, and what are you looking to get out of it? We're near the end of the summit. So what have you gotten out of it?
Yeah, man. To me, coming to conferences, always the most important thing is just the people and meeting different people, meeting some fascinating people from all over the world. But the content of the Tech Summit itself is fascinating. Great speakers, great entrepreneurs. I even accidentally I came specifically for the Web3 track, but I accidentally found myself in the healthcare track and a couple others, and it was great. Like, I learned things that I never really meant to or thought I would be walking away with here. But I've been involved with the OSDAO group, and we had the NFT art gallery last night, and just reaffirming like how cool and special a lot of the people are here, and just sharing a very similar outlook on the world and the growth of this region in particular. And it's a really good community vibe, and it's just a really positive feeling.
Absolutely. I get asked this question that if a book were being written right now about this area, would you say the Ford has been written? We're in chapter 1, or we're somewhere else?
Man, I don't know. I mean, having been here 30 years ago when Bentonville was population 15,000, sometimes it feels like we're maybe in the middle of the book, but maybe that was just a long prelude, and it feels like the momentum is growing and the population numbers are growing, and the rate of growth seems to be increasing. I mean, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would say it's still pretty early in the book.
I would think so too. I mean, from a population standpoint, you're like, wow, we must be far, but it does feel early.
Yeah,
it does feel early, and we'll be at 60,000 by the end of this year.
Yeah,
It's remarkable, isn't it?
One thing I look at is I look at a city like Tulsa, and not to throw Tulsa under the bus because it's a great place, and I love it. I got roots there. But this opportunity for Northwest Arkansas, it's kind of like greenfield, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, you're not redeveloping, you're kind of pushing out into previously undeveloped areas. And I think that's a unique opportunity. And obviously it needs to be done right, and it's a big responsibility. And I feel like all the leaders in this region are doing that, and they're sensitive to that, and getting back to that idea of quality growth. So I think more people around the world are seeing that and paying attention to that and valuing that than a lot of people give them credit for. And I think it's going to keep attracting more people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, and attracting more people. So the region, the 2 counties, is probably going to be at 580,000 is my estimation after the end of this year. Certainly 575, if not 580. Like everywhere else, we're seeing some housing challenges.
Yes.
But also like everywhere else, we're appearing on an awful lot of lists as is Northwest Arkansas or is Bentonville the next name the city? And hold up, slow down, slow your roll. No, we're not. We are the next best version of ourselves tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and 5 years from now, and 10 years from now. That's what we want to be, because we choose to be the next best version of, name it, X.
Yeah.
Name
Love
it
it.
A. We'll call it A.
Bentonville 2.0.
Yeah, right. For the next best version of somebody else, there's only two things we can't have to do. There are two things we have to do. One, bring all their problems, and two, live with being second.
That's right.
Right. And so in that vein, as we start experiencing housing problems, we start getting ahead of them, the Northwest Arkansas Council and the work that they're doing and the different cities and the different organizations working on housing. I mean, I love what you are doing as potentially part of the solution.
Yeah. So, it's a big challenge, and I've always been attracted to big challenges for some reason, glutton for punishment, I guess, but I've been in the real estate and construction fields for a long time. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about affordable housing and attainable housing. And to me, that's like, it's like, okay, can you find a place to rent that you can afford? Okay, let's say you can. But, I think people who really want to plant roots in the community, they need something a little more, right? Mm-hmm. They need some sense of ownership, right? And in the long history of relatively unchanged process of real estate business, you're a real estate renter or you're an owner, and there's never been anything in between, and there's never been much disruption there, and there's a very clear-cut path, in terms of working with a realtor, getting a mortgage, getting 2 years of pay stubs, tax, all that, but especially in the tech industry, you have all these people who are creating wealth in new kind of ways. A traditional financial system doesn't necessarily recognize, and for a lot of other reasons, there just need to be more alternatives. And we have technology now, especially using blockchain, things like smart contracts and even NFTs to represent different types of property rights at different periods of time, that we can start thinking about solutions to this in completely different ways. And one thing that's exciting about it is the idea that, you can work in an area like Bentonville, Rogers Springdale, Fayetteville, or other communities that are experiencing these housing attainability problems that you maybe can't necessarily build your way out of. And you can help people get on that property ladder and have a real stake in the communities that they're working in. They're contributing to the community fabric, they're adding value to the community, but that value never accrues back to them in terms of equity in property. So it's exciting to see an opportunity to do that and work with communities that are having that experience of low property attainability, and make it so that's not an impediment to future growth. Because as if people, a lot of people are moving to Arkansas, and one of the reasons is because their dollar goes further when it comes to housing. And that's true all over the country. So, I think if communities are not proactive in basically throwing everything they have at the problem, even including new technology, then they could get stuck in the same situation as the communities that those people are moving from.
That's exactly right. Well, the good news is right now we're about on the national median.
Right.
Let's see if we can't get there and keep that going.
It's a great value. I mean, it's obviously relative to past pricing in this area. It seems high, but on a national scale and in looking at quality of life, it's great value.
Which makes it even more attractive to folks. Okay, let's end this with a story. Will you tell me a hashtag because Bentonville story, something that represents the uniqueness of this place, or could only happen here, essence, or whatever?
I took a road trip out to Colorado this summer. It was super hot, traveling. I have a camper van. I'm going all over the place. And I had seen a concert at the Momentary and saw it promoted. It was Run the Jewels and Big Boy.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I'd love to check that out, but I think I'm going to be driving back from Colorado. And came back just a little early, got to Tulsa, totally wiped out, just I'm going to stay here and I'm going to sleep for 2 days. My buddy Rob calls me, hey, I got an extra ticket. You want to go? I'm like, hell yeah, man. Let's go. So because I had seen Fresh Grass at the Momentary and such a killer venue, such a neat new and nice, but also warm and just like felt really good type of place. And I wouldn't have done that just like to go to the Amp or to go somewhere else.
Yeah, that's cool. There's a lot happening in the music scene here and growing in a big way.
Right.
Just a few weeks ago was the Format Festival.
Yes.
Which is a brand new festival launched at a time when festival attendance across the country is down.
Right.
So why not launch one during that time, right?
Yeah,
and it's an art and music and tech festival. The folks who planned Lollapalooza did it, and it was off the hook.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a surprise at every turn. It was beyond anything. It was advertised one way, and it was way better than advertised. I can't wait to see it again next year.
That was all the feedback that I saw as well, and honestly, I'm kicking myself for not going. I have some good friends who are on the production team, actually, and they travel all over the country and work on the highest quality productions, and they're like, you need to go, and I didn't make it, and I was like, yeah, I totally should have gone.
Awesome. All right, well, let's wrap it up there. Craig, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
You bet. Thank you, James. Man, great job with the Tech Summit, and can't wait to hang out again.
Yeah, you bet. Well, I can't take credit for that. That goes to Chris Adams and the and our team at the Chamber that does the Tech Summit. I just show up and do what I'm told.
Right. Yeah.
Which is a good way to go, too.
Nice.
All right.
Thanks,
awesome.
Chris.
Thanks, Craig.
Take care, guys.
Hey, let me introduce you to Caleb Talley, Executive Director of Startup Junkie and one of my many co-conspirators here in Northwest Arkansas. Caleb, tell us about yourself.
Well, James, thank you for having me on for my my debut of this podcast. I appreciate it. So my name's Caleb Talley. As you said, I'm Executive Director of Startup Junkie Foundation. I am a native Arkansan, but I'm not a native Northwest Arkansan, from East Arkansas, Arkansas Delta. Born and raised around Forest City, Arkansas, not too far from where you came from, in Memphis. Went to the University of Arkansas, graduated in 2015, worked back in the Delta, and then worked in Little Rock for a few years, and worked my way back. That's what I tell people. I didn't move back. I worked my way back to Northwest Arkansas. Yeah.
Very cool. So you're here at by the way, I should mention that we dropped an episode yesterday with Jeff Ammerine, who founded Startup Junkie. So check that out on BentonvilleEconomicDevelopment.com.
Yeah. Any content
awesome
with
episode.
Jeff is going to be good content.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And also, I got to say, I'm a little intimidated right now. Caleb and his team at Startup Junkie have more than 100,000 downloads and more than 300 episodes. We're at about 30 episodes right now, so we've got a ways to go. Anyhow, tell me about, we're here at the Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit. Talk about it. How's that been for you? What did you expect this year, and what happened?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I didn't really know what to expect. So when I started at Startup Junkie in 2019, that was my first experience with the Tech Summit. It was a big deal. There's a ton of people from all over the world that came, and a lot of activations, a lot of engagement with startups and things of that nature. And then, of course, the past couple of years have been very different in that regard. And so I didn't really know what to expect, but it was super exciting to see everybody back, all these people out walking around downtown, walking to the different locations, just the thought that went into how it's laid out, I think, just going from spot to spot and just kind of encouraging people to really experience downtown in addition to experiencing the summit itself, I think was very well done and very intentional. So it was good to see, and I heard a lot of great comments from people, first time attendees and returning attendees. Yeah.
Awesome. That's so cool. Well, we'll make this episode short. Tell me a story. And this story is a hashtag because Bentonville story. It's kind of shows the essence of this place or something that's unique to here.
Let me see. So if I were to tell a story of Bentonville, I think if I were to tell that story from my perspective, I think it would have to go back to my earlier experiences with Bentonville as a college student in the early, 2010s. And when I was in school in Fayetteville at the University of Arkansas, Go Hogs.
Okay.
Nobody really made their way to Benton. It was kind of like, it's 30 minutes away, and that's just unfathomable to drive that far to go eat. What? I'm not driving 30 minutes to eat. I'm not driving 30 minutes to see a show or whatever else, to go to a museum. What? And then having been in other cities to where, you have to drive 30 minutes just to get from one end of town to the other,
right,
much less to a whole different city. When I moved back, it was, of course, a different scenario. But when I moved back and started actually frequenting Bentonville, I realized, one, how much it had grown and the intentional development of the community itself, but also just what it had to offer. I mean, holy smokes, of course, Fayetteville and other cities have their long time haunts, their restaurants that you go to and things of that nature. Not just to talk about restaurants, but your go-to places I like to eat. So I'm reference that, of course.
It's a common theme these last couple of days, actually.
I'm sure. But really kind of coming back and seeing what I hadn't experienced when I lived in Northwest Arkansas previously was just like a exciting surprise to see all that it had to offer, and kind of kick yourself a little bit for not having spent any more time up here when I lived here previously. So I think it is a testament to just how much the community's grown and just the effort on the part of the chamber and other stakeholders in Northwest Arkansas and Bentonville specifically, to really develop what you have here and to add to it and to do the things that are enticing the talent and the culture to kind of put down roots, because those seed more awesome things to come.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't kick yourself too hard. I mean, the 2010s, that's like ancient history.
Yeah,
around
that is.
here.
That is. Yeah.
It feels like that could be 30 years ago any other
it
place.
Will be
right?
tomorrow, probably.
So
yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, Caleb, thanks for coming in on the show. This has been fantastic.
Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.
Let me introduce you to Katie Thompson, Executive Director of Science Venture Studio. Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, James.
You bet. Well, what should our audience know about you? And hey, this can be as professional as you want, a little personal if you want, whatever the answer is that you're comfortable with.
All right. So something that they should know about me, I have 2 kids, 8 and a 6-year-old. Love them to death. They are into Halloween this year. This is their first year that they're just
awesome.
In it. And it really is fun this year. And I think a lot of people know this about me, but I am an avid trail runner. I got to pick that up probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I love it. Yeah. Done a lot of the trails around here, and yeah.
There's plenty of trails to run on around here. It might even partly explain why Arkansas repeatedly has one of the best cross-country teams in the country.
Absolutely.
Cross-country teams in the country, yeah.
Yep.
Talk about your role and what you do, or what Science Venture Studio does.
Yeah, so Science Venture Studio, we help, in a nutshell, we help very, very early stage science and technology companies get non-dilutive federal research funding. And, a lot of people, like I tell them, non-dilutive simply means that the company doesn't have to give up any equity in their company. And the funding that we help them with are grants. So it's not a typical like bank loan, and these grants allow these early stage companies to develop their technology and hopefully grow their company.
Yeah, I have to ask because I don't know this answer. Do y'all charge anything for that service?
No. So the Science Venture Studio, we're funded by the Walton Family Foundation. And so because of that, we are able to provide our services free of cost.
That's really cool, because I know a lot of places around the country, and it usually comes from the state level from what I've seen, will offer grants to help pay for a grant writer, but it's not enough to,
right.
enough to get it done.
And there's a lot of different programs too that, say that they help the company write the grant, like they want a portion of that grant. Yeah. But we talked about that model and what the Science Venture Studio, we want that money to go to the company. And so that they can, do the necessary work to grow their, develop their technology.
That's very cool. Well, every dollar is precious to a startup. So that's a perfect model for startups to get to deal with. Can you talk about some of the companies you've supported and how you've supported them?
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a wonderful just getting to see these companies. Some of them are just at that idea stage. So getting to talk to them at the very beginning, and then seeing them where they're at now. There's a few in particular that we've worked with that are just rocking and rolling. One is Freight Relay, and Freight Relay, they came in. What the beautiful thing about them, the CEO is his name is Ayush Thakur, and they came in during the Fuel Accelerator. So that's a Fuel Accelerator is a program that is run out of Startup Junkie, and then they participated in the Fuel Accelerator. And during that, I got to meet Ayush and talk to him about, SBR opportunities. They were still at that stage where they didn't know if they were going to come here or they were going to go stay in Memphis where they were at, or go elsewhere. And luckily and thankfully, they just made the decision to stay here. So we helped them. But they've, I think in just a year, they've raised a little over $2 million in non-dilutive federal funding. Another company that we've worked with is a company called Celludot. And Celludot is an ag company. Freight Relay is AI company, but they're working on the freight trucking system. Celludot though is an ag company, which they are helping with. I won't get too technical with it, but they're helping with it that dicamba drift. But they have also raised, I don't know their exact numbers, but they've raised, a good chunk of their funds through non-dilutive funding. And then we also have worked with a company, Catalyze H2O, which Catalyze H2O, they participated in the pitch competition at the Tech Summit, and they won third place. So we've worked really with them on all of their funding opportunities. And I've really, all these companies, we've seen them, at the very infancy stage, and then seen their growth through it. And it's been a fun ride to see them.
That's so cool. It must be so fulfilling for
you.
you.
It is.
That's cool. So as we wrap this up, let's do some just rapid fire favorites. We'll call these Bentonville favorites. Favorite restaurants. So, I mean, I'm sure, there's so many that you can choose from, but I think my top favorites, definitely Press Room, and then Preacher's Son, which is just right next door to us. Those are my top two. And if people are coming in, those are my top two that I'll recommend. Like, you've got to try Press Room or got to try Preacher's Son. Well, you certainly can't go wrong with either of those. They're fantastic. I love them both. I try to make it to Preacher's Son at least once a week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I absolutely love it.
Yeah, even if I'm just sitting there in the afternoon doing work, it's a great place to hang out, watch people do work, and meet people. Yeah, and the atmosphere and stuff at both of those places, it's fun. And, I know even yesterday at lunch, instead of, we decided to go to Press Room because he wanted to experience, the person that I was eating with wanted to experience something in Bentonville. And I said, well, let's just head over to Press Room. And just got to, he got to see Bentonville, see it and see, the community and see, and so it was really cool for him to get to explore that. And I think that is like with Preacher's Son as well. You get to, see the community and see it all. But exactly, very cool. Yeah, I took somebody in to just peek into Preacher's Son. We went to Undercroft last night. They looked in.
What? Yeah, like here? You walk in and it's just like, wow. Yeah, what is this?
Incredible.
Yeah.
Favorite things to do with kids.
So I have an 8 and a 6-year-old, and we love coming up to Bentonville. I know whenever they were real young, we would come up here once or twice a week, and we would, go to the, go to the museum, or even go to Crystal Bridges as well. And it's really, I grew up in a very small town in Texas. And so I didn't have the opportunities to see artwork or, to go to these different museums. Right. So able to take them to places, with Crystal Bridges, it's completely free. And so, even the kids, their attention span is, at an 8 and a 6-year-old level, but, we can go there and, they can get to experience that. And and as a mom, it's no cost to me. And then as with the museum as well, I mean they love going to that, and like I know I am repeating myself, but when they were real little, I mean we would come up at least once or twice a week to go to a museum, just because it was always amazing. And even me as an adult, like I'd go and play and stuff as well. So yeah.
Same here. My wife tells me that she's like, this is ridiculous. I've taken 2 kids to the museum.
Yeah.
My
You
son
and your son.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, last one. Favorite museum that's not Crystal Bridges?
Yeah, I think my favorite is the Momentary. And what I like about the Momentary is that it's that rotating, they have that rotating art exhibit. Just love going in there. And it's the same thing with the atmosphere as well. And, getting to just experience people, experience culture.
Outstanding. All right. Well, Katie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
This has been great. Let me introduce you to Dr. Kirt Gill, CEO and co-founder of Neurostasis. Kirt, welcome to the show.
Thank you, James. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Well, what should our audience know about Dr. Gill?
Not many people call me doctor anymore, so I'm one of those clinician turned entrepreneurs now, but it's nice to hear it, I guess, every now and then after you've gone all through that schooling.
You earned it. I'm going to call you it. At least once.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think I'm the CEO and co-founder now of Neurostasis, and that's been something that I've been working on since basically the summer of 2020 with my co-founder. It took us a while to get the idea solidified, but it's been the driving passion and what we've been working on for the last few years, and excited to be here and talking about it and being involved in the Tech Summit.
Yeah, well, I know a little bit about your journey and that you went through the 0 to 510 medical device accelerator. I did a session with y'all. I think I remember doing that virtually.
Yeah, I mean, just with everything in 2020, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm also an alum of that accelerator 2 times, and then was the entrepreneur in residence there for a couple of years. So it's a cool program. But can you tell us about your journey through that? And I think you went down to TMCX in Houston, and what's your journey been like? And then also do tell us about what it is that you actually do and the problem you're solving and how you're saving the world.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to save the world, let's say. So Neurostasis, we're driven to change the paradigm of care for stroke. And we actually started out first in Houston in TMC.
Okay.
So I met my co-founder down there in Houston as a part of the TMC Biodesign Fellowship. So previously, my previous life, I was in radiology, and I kind of got involved with, I guess, things outside of clinical practice. Actually, a venture development group here in Arkansas, VIC.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I met one of the managing partners of them, James Lancaster, and he became a bit of a mentor for me and, kind of pulled me out of clinical practice, you could say.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's, kind of whet my appetite for innovation. And I ended up going to the Biodesign Fellowship to develop something of my own. Because I think when you go into clinical practice, obviously everyone wants to make a difference, help people. And that's something that, initially calls everyone to that calling.
Yeah.
In my experience, I wanted to essentially impact even more people. And so be able to kind of change how care is given, because after a while it becomes very formulaic and you make connections with patients, but you're essentially just following a formula for what currently is the best practice.
Sure.
And so when we're at the TMC Biodesign Fellowship, we were driven to explore neurology. That's where I was doing previously my research. Mm-hmm. And my co-founder and I have had personal experiences with stroke in our lives. And we know just how much it affects not only the patient, but everyone around them. It's one of those diseases that really, undersells the impact.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to develop something for that. And we spent a lot of time interviewing people, getting access to operating rooms, clinicians, and honing in on the problem that we want to solve, which is that too few people actually receive treatment. So in the United States, which you would expect to be one of the best, healthcare systems in the world, when it comes to this type of thing, less than 20% of stroke patients actually get treatment.
Wow.
And that's really unacceptable given that we know treatments exist.
Yeah.
The other component to that is that even when people get into the hospital system, it can take them so long to get to that treatment that maybe they won't be eligible anymore, or too much damage is already done.
Yeah.
And that has major ramifications on the back end. So we're developing a device now that is designed to slow down that damage that occurs after a stroke onsets. We use neuromodulation, put it in an easy to use device, start kind of electrocuting your forehead and your ear. It jumpstarts these brainstem reflexes. And the goal is to provide a bridge to care, preserving tissue.
That is so cool.
Thanks.
I mean, that's amazing. I don't think I've told you that my first medical device startup was in the area of helping stroke survivors recover the function of their hands.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And not doing it in a passive way, which of course is what most of the treatments are. We could talk about that sometime, but I love what you are doing. That's game changing, right?
We hope so. I mean, we're just getting into our first clinical trials. What we're essentially trying to do is increase blood flow going to the brain. So think of it like, an ischemic stroke, it's highways clogged up, but maybe sometimes you can get off the exit and go around it, avoid it. So we're trying to open up those collateral lanes. So collateral blood vessels, augment those collaterals, try to preserve tissue on the edges, and just increase as much blood flow as you can while this patient's getting to treatment.
Awesome. And here you are at the, by the way, I'd loved hearing Vic. That was an unexpected thing. Vic's down in Fayetteville, very much tied at the hip to the University of Arkansas. Calvin Goforth is who I know with Vic.
Calvin's great.
Quite some time ago when I was actually first flirting with the idea of coming to Northwest Arkansas.
Oh, yeah.
He's one of the people that I got connected with. And so that's great hearing Vic come up in this conversation. It's funny how we have these connections in this kind of small world tied together. Let's talk about the Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit. That's where we are right now. And it's getting kind of quiet in here. It's the venue we're in has basically wrapped up. So the Tech Summit itself is a wrap here, I guess, right now. So your first time to the Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit. Why did you come here? What did you expect the summit to be like, and what happened?
Yeah, well, let's answer those one at a time. Why did we come here? I mean, I think you know yourself just how much of a hub this area is growing into from both a technology standpoint, but also I would say from a medical standpoint, which is interesting. And we applied to also come and pitch here to the community. And I want to say one thank you to the organizers for putting on that type of event and giving us the opportunity to pitch, because we were fortunate enough to be awarded first prize in the 10,000 non-dilutive funds, which is always great and great validation for what we're continuing to build. What I appreciated about the Tech Summit, and I go to a lot of conferences, and it's often very focused on, let's say, one particular niche. But I think getting the opportunity to interact with people that are outside of your niche, because of how this is not just med tech, it's tech,
right?
It's cybersecurity. It's I think it brings together different people that allow you to make different connections, which is just valuable. Just before coming in here right now, I met with someone who's more on the financial side, but he ended up just being at the pitch, and he has had a personal experience with stroke, and they really liked what we're doing. And it's that type of a connection that you don't get to meet or make unless there's venues like this that really facilitate it.
Absolutely. Well, we tried to bring, of course, the Greater Bentonville Area Chamber of Commerce, which I work for, runs the Tech Summit. I just show up and do what I'm told. If for this one, it's show up and do a podcast, but Chris Adams, who's the director, has crushed it with him and his team have really crushed it with the Tech Summit. But when we put the pitch competition together, we tried to really curate a team of judges, not just anybody, a team of judges who could be helpful to the competitors and really bring y'all some value. And who knows what could happen in addition to that. And so I'm really glad to hear that y'all had that additional connection in addition to winning $10,000 non-dilutive dollars. I mean, that's every startup could use that, right?
Right.
So congratulations for winning.
No, thank you.
And let's go to the last question, which is, this is your first trip to Bentonville. How long, can you calculate how many hours you've been in town? Take a swag. Is it a day and a half?
Yeah, day and a half now. And, it's the first time coming out to Northwest Arkansas, and it's really beautiful. I think that's what I'm really going to take home with me. I went to, I needed to go to Crystal Bridges while I was here.
Yeah.
And that in itself was just a real treat. There's certain art pieces there that really spoke to me. I think what I enjoy is more of like those landscape paintings, because especially like some of the older ones, I think there's one by John Taylor. It's kind of like a view of like Philadelphia from like colonial times.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to imagine what America looked like before all this development.
Yeah.
Like how beautiful of a country this really is from like a natural perspective.
Yeah.
And, you get to kind of imagine it through those eyes, through some of the artwork that's there. And I think that's special.
Yeah, that's so true. And, I don't know if you got around to the exhibit that just made me think about, but right now there's an original copy of the U.S. Constitution at Crystal Bridges.
Oh, is
Did
there?
you get to see that?
I missed that one. That's interesting.
Yeah, you might have missed that hall, but so
I'll have to go back.
It's a really interesting. Yeah, well, this is the first time this collection of documents have been shown together too. If you go backwards, I don't know, a few months ago, there was a bunch of news about one of the 11 remaining original copies of the Constitution being sold at auction, and the buyer went, the first place I've got to send this is Crystal Bridges. And so it came to Crystal Bridges, and there's a copy of the, I think it's one of the original copies of the Declaration of Independence there right now, of the Emancipation Proclamation, which has Abraham Lincoln's signature on it. Sorry, Crystal Bridges, if I got that wrong. It sure looked like it to me. The Articles of Confederation, which of course preceded the Constitution. The 14th Amendment, and then
you're really speaking to me. I'm a history buff. So my previous life, I was a classical civilization major. So I've been studying history.
Oh my gosh, yeah, you'll have to go back and check it out. Well, then the other thing they do in the gallery is it's very powerful, because then there's artwork in the gallery that is, there's slavery artwork, there's Native Americans. There's this amazing piece with Redcoat, and it ties together the time so that you also understand the time, and then you walk out and you walk into some pretty powerful pop-up banners, giant pop-up banners, mind you, of things that are related, and it's really fascinating.
Well, I'm looking forward to the next time, because I saw how much construction's going on there, to see what they're going to be adding to it.
Yeah, so there's two things happening. One, when you're at Crystal Bridges and you look out and you see the construction, is the current facility is 200,000 square feet. Alice Walton has decided to make an expansion, so it's going to expand by 50%. It'll be 300,000 square feet.
Wow! And
it's free. Right, everything we're talking about here is free.
Yeah.
And then as you drive into Crystal Bridges, the construction you saw on your left or on your right as you're coming out is the Whole Health Institute. And she founded Alice Walton founded the Whole Health Institute to help people everywhere become well. what you also might not know, and we could talk about health and wellness quite a bit, and I'm going to flip it over and call it wellness and healthcare the way it should be, and the way that I think Bentonville will change
Focus
it.
on wellness first.
Yeah, is around the corner. They're building the Alice Walton School of Medicine.
Oh, okay.
Focused on integrative health. And first of all, the architecture of the place, look at the pictures when you get time, is incredible, because it should be, if you're focused on integrative health, it should have nature around it. It should be blended in. And so that's just some of what's happening in healthcare. And then you tie in art with it and nature and so on. It's really incredible what's happening.
It's really interesting to bring up integrate. It brings back, like, there was an elective in medical school that was focused on integrative health, and they did have some very interesting things to consider when you are treating the patient, which is you want to be holistic and think of other aspects of their life that you could help improve as well. And a part of it was, being one with nature. And that's where something that I think Northwest Arkansas, I think really has really wowed me, I suppose. It's been a while. I'm coming from Houston, and I like Houston. Yeah. But I think the trees here, the hills, the mountains, it's really beautiful.
Yeah, Houston's a giant town, by the way.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
it's we have a fair number of people moving here from Houston. Many of them are mountain bikers, so they're coming up because it's close enough proximity, and they come up and they're like, "Why don't I just move?" In fact, I can't say who they are. There is I'll say it's somebody in the tech space. I'll admit it to that. That's making the move from Houston right now, which I think is really cool. But hey, this has been really great reconnecting with you and talking with you about neurostasis and hearing your sort of first impressions of Bentonville. So, Kirt, Dr. Gill, thank you again for joining me for this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Let me reintroduce you to John Wilcox, co-founder and CEO of Tech Diabetes. John was on early in this couple of days of recording, and he had been in town for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. So we did first impressions and got the promise out of him to come back as the last person to be interviewed in this Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit series of mini interviews to do second impressions. John, welcome back.
Hey, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, so it's been a big day for you. First, congratulations on winning second place in the Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit pitch competition.
Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, it was awesome. And, 0 to 510, the Medical Device Accelerator out of Memphis, they showed out today. We got first and second place, and it was awesome. It was a great event. We, pitched and were able to meet some really great judges, get good feedback, and also hear a lot of great companies too. All the pitches were incredibly strong. So I know they had a hard time picking who to select for first, second, and third, but just hearing all the different company focuses was so cool. So yeah, we had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I got to talk to some of the judges afterwards, and indeed they did struggle in picking. And like you, I thought all the pitches were strong. Shout out to 0 to 510 in Memphis. There's a trend line when they show up at pitch competitions, they're gunning for the top spots, and I've lost count of the number of times that I've seen sweeps when 0 to 510 companies show up. It's just consistent. It's a great program. Of course, I have some heart for it because I used to be their entrepreneur in residence.
Yes.
2-time alum of the program. So congratulations again, and to Neurostasis, who won first, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So here we are for second impressions. Let's start with Tech Summit. What did you think about the Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit and your first experience with it?
Oh, I think it's been absolutely wonderful. You commented on this, I think, when we were talking. I don't know if it was on our last podcast episode or just in passing conversation, but the dynamic of the different spaces and the different venues has been really awesome because you get a taste of downtown Bentonville, walking to the different areas. So that's been really, really an awesome part about it, especially since the weather's been so beautiful. So I really enjoyed being able to be outside, walk around, talking to people in the commutes between the different buildings and the different events. The events themselves have been super great. We obviously, we had our pitch competition today, but there were several keynote speakers that presented today that I got to hear, which was really awesome. And then, of course, the fellowship that happens between, with investors and fellow entrepreneurs and, consultants that are also, potential, resources for us. Connecting with all those people has been super awesome. So
Great. Glad to hear it went well for you. Well, cool. Come back next year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Good. And we got to see more 0 to 5, 10 companies come out and present next year too, and keep the wind train going. We're very excited to hopefully make it out again and participate again. So
awesome. So as we wrap up, let's do second impressions for Bentonville. This is your first trip. How many hours are you in?
Oh, geez. Okay. So probably just a little bit over 24.
Okay.
We, got in yesterday afternoon and are really only here until tomorrow morning. But just being able to wake up this morning and drive over and see, the Walmart campus that's being built, obviously all the infrastructure that's going on. There was that total bikeable building that we saw, which is it's just like where are all these buildings coming from? Everything is so modern. It's like if there's like one little blade of grass that pops up, there's like it gets cut to match everything. It really it's like the masters, or it's like a portrait. Bentonville's beautiful, and I'm trying not to overemphasize that, but really I've been very impressed about the urban planning, the restaurants. We got to eat out at Table Mesa. Yeah, last night, which was great, and gonna go enjoy some cocktails this evening. So the venues have been great. The infrastructure is incredible, and obviously, got to see the bike paths too. So that's been awesome as well. So I want to come back and be able to do some more riding.
Yeah, absolutely. Get you to Crystal Bridges and some of these other places. Like the Museum of Native American History is a place that sometimes I forget to tell people about. You should check out. But there's so much more to do here. Definitely come back. Bring your fiance.
Yeah, we got
for a weekend. And hang out,
I literally had a phone call with her saying today that we should definitely come back and visit. That she would really enjoy this place. Like I'm sure there's probably some B&B in downtown that you could stay at. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, like I said, this is a really cool place.
Yeah, so. I mean, when you come, do a B&B or an Airbnb or Vrbo or 21C. Yeah, 21C is pretty cool.
Is that a hotel?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's one of those, in Bentonville, there's this thing that seems to happen over and over again. Start with plug and play, right? If you look at all the places there are around the world, there's Berlin and San Francisco and all these big places, and Bentonville. What? If you don't know, you don't know. When you see Bentonville, you're like, what is going on with that? 21C Museum Hotel, Nashville, and all these big cities, and Bentonville again. What? It's a beautiful hotel. It's a museum hotel. So even the rooms are part of the museum. Nobody's coming in your room. You get to see that part. But it's a pretty cool place. Yeah, so
we'll have to check it out for sure.
Yeah. And there's some other new cool hotels going up.
One in the Walmart campus. Right?
Yeah.
The AC Marriott will be built by the next time we come.
There's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 hotels being built, including that one right now. So, So, John, man, this has been great. Thanks for coming back on for second impressions. Look forward to having you come back to town and bring your fiance and visit. And,
we definitely want to. It's like I said, an amazing place. So cool. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for coming back on the show. Wasn't that great? Hey, whether you attended this year or realize you need to attend next year, save these dates. The 2023 Northwest Arkansas Technology Summit will take place October 15th through 17th. And while I can't share all the details yet, here's a little teaser. I got to peek into the early planning discussions and learned one of the leading tracks may be automation and AI. To learn more about this year's Tech Summit, and it's a space to watch for 2023 as well, check out NWATechSummit.com. Also, check out the episodes of the Bentonville Beacon podcast at BentonvilleEconomicDevelopment.com or your favorite podcast player, where of course you'll also hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. You'll find weekly Bentonville Beacon episodes are released each Monday, while bonus episodes, including this series, typically drop each Friday. Keep coming back to this podcast to learn more about Bentonville's leaders and their businesses, and more about Bentonville and Northwest Arkansas, where you get more of what you want and less of what you don't. See you next time.